All right, in this video we are going to talk about using the paint to do our color wheel. And so the supplies that we are going to need are the primary colors, red, yellow, blue. And you can see that they are in this caddy with eraser caps on them. That's where they should be like 98% of the time. There will be a set for each table, so you won't have to worry about going anywhere to get them. They should be there. We want to keep them in the caddies so that if they tip and wobble, they stay upright in the caddy, whereas if they're on the table, they can actually tip over. Also, you're going to need a tray for mixing your paint. There should be one for almost every person. If you find that you don't have one, you can share with another person. Just they get half, you get the other half. We are also going to be using a paintbrush, and so we're going to be using these paintbrushes to paint our plates and our color wheel. Same thing. All right, so let's get started. Probably not a bad idea to also have some paper towel handy. So as you can see, this one has already been done. I have Y for yellow on this side, and I've already painted half of it. I'm not too worried about it being exactly on the line, like staying on the line. We want to keep it neat, but if it's off just a little bit, that'll be all right. So let's talk a little bit about mixing colors, because really all you have to do with yellow is take your bottle, put it on the tray, and then paint from there. When it comes to mixing colors, though, we're going to need two colors to make green, which, by the way, those two colors are blue and yellow. We generally start with the lightest of the two colors. So what I'm going to do is start with yellow. And guys, when we are using the paint, a couple of things. We are never going to take our paints and squirt them together like this, okay? That is one thing I'll be looking for people to, that they're not doing that. So instead what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a little bit of yellow in the corner. This one's a little bit low, which is good because I wanna show you. If it gets low, don't squish the bottle so hard that it forces the lid off or that you're bending the bottles. Instead, you can tap it down so that the paint comes to the top and then just squirt it on your tray. You're gonna start with something about the size of a quarter. Now, if it's not coming out, you can check to see that if this is plugged, or you can ask me. And I've got a pile of yellow, so I'm gonna make a pile of blue over here. I'm keeping them separate, even though I know this is gonna get mixed a little bit as I go. All right, like I said, we're gonna start with the lighter color and add the dark to it. So I'm gonna swoop up just a little bit of blue. And blue is such a dark color, I always want to start with just a little, and I can always add more. So I'm going to go ahead and mix it in. And you will have a color wheel at your table. There's also one in the room, but I will have one of these at your table to use as a reference. So I'm going to go ahead and mix and mix. And as I look at the color I've mixed, and I'm looking here, that actually looks more like a yellowish green. It's a little too lime green. So I'm going to go ahead and pick up just a little more blue and keep mixing until I get something that is in that middle range of green. You notice I'm keeping my pile in the corner. I'm not spreading it out too much because by spreading it out, all you're doing is basically wasting paint and wasting time. Okay, so you can see I added just a touch more blue. It's starting to border on being almost a blue-green, so I'm going to stop because that is what I want. It's not lime green, it's not blue-green, it is a pretty solid green. So next is to paint the plate. So when it comes to painting these plates, again, we want to do a neat job, which means I'm going to take this right down the edge. I may have to put a second layer on, especially if it's looking a little streaky. But one of the things I really want you to pay attention to is when you're painting, go off the edge like this. If you decide to paint on like this, you're gonna squish paint onto the backside, and you do not want to do that. So either A, I'm gonna get it on the table, understanding that I'm gonna have to clean it when I'm done with this plate, or I can hold it up in the air and paint off the plate like this. All right, because there is some paint already there that I really want to avoid. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this later, not on the video here, but just keep in mind that when you're done with this, you'll want to put it in a safe place, which is going to be our hanging tree or in your tub. And we'll talk more about the hanging tree in a little bit. But I want to talk to you about cleanup. So cleanup is pretty simple. Best way to clean up is to make this as quick and painless as possible. And what I want to do is I want to avoid a lot of mess and cleanup. So what I'm going to do is take a damp paper towel and wipe this out. And that does so much with a whole lot of little work. Now you can usually do most of this at your table. I just, for the sake of the video, am working in one spot. Make sure all your paper towels get thrown away. So with 2 paper towels getting wet and doing this, I'm going to assure myself that we are the first ones out of the room. Your table is, because now I don't have to worry about drying it. It's all clean. Next thing I want to talk about is when you are doing your brushes, you want to go over to the sink, run some water, get your hand in the sink with the brush, and just run it in circles. You might actually clean your hand too. But anyway, by doing this, I'm assuring I'm not pulling the bristles out. I'm not pulling the bristles out, and I'm not twisting them. You'll also notice I'm trying to work in the sink as much as possible versus working up here where we're going to get water on the counters. And then obviously we are going to check these by running it on the back of our hand to make sure that we clean them. All right, there should be 4 brushes at each table. There should be 4 trays, hopefully, for everybody. There will be color wheels, and each table is going to have the paints. Make sure at the end of class you have all of that stuff.